Imagine putting your child to bed, only to discover the next morning that he won't wake up. Doctors run every test imaginable, but they can't find anything wrong. Then strange things start happening around the house. Footsteps in empty rooms, shadows watching from the darkness, and a horrifying discovery that changes everything. Their son isn't trapped in a coma. His soul is trapped in a place far worse. Today, we're diving into Insidious, 2011, one of the most terrifying supernatural horror films ever made. Make sure you stay until the end because the final twist leaves this family in an even worse nightmare than where they started. Josh Lambert is the kind of dad who fixes broken things and thinks a haunted house is just bad wiring, until his little boy, Dalton, wanders into something that ordinary logic can't fix. At the start we meet the Lamberts, Josh, his wife Renee, and their 3 kids trying to settle into a new house after a move. Things are never subtle in horror movies, so of course the house creaks, the baby monitor picks up weird noise, and the dog acts like it knows something the family doesn't. Josh is practical, a husband and father who'd rather slap a patch on a wall than call in a priest. Renee is the heart of the family, immediately protective and shaken when Dalton starts acting strange, more distant, less like the kid who used to giggle on the couch. Pretty soon that domestic oddness turns into full panic. Dalton has an accident that leaves him unconscious, and the doctors declare him in a coma with no neurological explanation, no trauma, no brain swelling, nothing that explains why he's out cold. The family is thrown into this impossible limbo. Dalton's body is alive but he's miles away, and weirdness at the house escalates to things that can't be blamed on stress. Strange shadows, doors opening, a chill in rooms that used to be warm. Renee is terrified, and little signs pile up. Toys moved, muted breathing on monitors, and a deep sense that Dalton didn't just fall asleep, something took him. Josh, who has his own hard-to-swallow history, remembers odd childhood episodes that suddenly make sense. Nights he disappeared in his head and came back with scratches on his arms, a blank space where memories should be. When the Lamberts bring in police and doctors and get nowhere, a concerned friend suggests a paranormal investigator. That's how Elise Rainier shows up, a tired, empathetic medium who looks like she's seen too many awful things but still keeps a candle lit for people like the Lamberts. Elise isn't flashy. She's steady and quietly convinced that Dalton's not in a hospital bed so much as trapped in a place she calls the Further, a ghostly realm where spirits and lost things linger, and where time and sense don't follow the rules we do. Elise brings along her 2 assistants, Specs and Tucker, a bit of tech, a lot of heart, and the compassion you hope for when your child is missing from you in any meaningful way. They set up cameras and old-fashioned seances, and she explains the grammar of the situation. Some people can project their consciousness, astral travel, and get stuck outside themselves. Dalton, Elise says, isn't dead. He's stuck on the other side, plucked from the world in a way that science can't fix. That's when the movie's real tension begins. This isn't just a spooky house. It's a doorway for certain malevolent things. The team attempts to reach Dalton by going into the Further, not physically, of course, but by letting their minds slip into that shadowy world. The Further is painted like an abandoned suburban maze. Hotel corridors, old houses, a skyless emptiness where children's faces wait like static on a phone screen. It's eerie and sad and full of this feeling that, whatever else it is, people got trapped there and never got to say goodbye. Elise leads the way, and Josh is forced to remember his own childhood wanderings. He realizes he used to do this. He used to leave his body and wander, and whatever he found once left a mark. It flips the dynamic. The calming, practical dad is also someone with a dangerous ability. As they search the Further, you learn the rules. You can call someone, reach for them, but something can reach back. Dalton, when they find him, is a kid who looks okay but is hollowed out in an unchildlike way. He's drawn to the darkness because it's familiar, it's some twisted version of play. The Further is full of small, pointy dangers. Figures in the distance, a red-faced apparition that leans in with lipstick-like streaks, the film's main monster, and a palpable slow dread. Specs and Tucker bring some levity in the middle of all this, nerdy and brave, flipping between nervous jokes and genuine intensity. Elise is maternal and fierce, and she never promises miracles. She promises to try. If you like a good twist, Insidious keeps one tucked away. Beneath the demon Theatrix is a human horror. A real-life serial killer named Parker Crane, whose violent history bleeds into the further. The film reveals that some of these haunting figures once belonged to real people who did terrible things, and their anger can latch onto the living. This is where the stakes ratchet up. Parker's story is ugly and complicated. Elise peels it back enough to show how human evil and supernatural hunger can team up. The red-faced thing, the lipstick-faced demon, is not a friendly babysitter. It wants a living vessel to walk the world again, and it's crafty about how it manipulates fear and loneliness. Back in the waking world, Renee's stress gets to be too much. She and Josh argue, grief and fear wearing away their connection. Josh's own memories get darker. Flashes of a child wandering through an eerie house that might be part of the further, moments when he wasn't fully himself. It becomes clear that his ability to leave his body is both a potential salvation and a torch that invites something bad. The idea that the family's problems are partly his fault, a buried secret from his childhood, colors every scene with dread. You feel for Renee. She wants answers and safety for her son, and she keeps the anger honest without ever becoming unlikable. She's the audience's heart. The midsection of the film plays like a two-track chase. Elise and the team hunting through the further, while back in reality physical manifestations get more violent. Doors slam, an old woman's silhouette appears, and one terrifying sequence shows a crawling figure in the hallway that makes you wish for more light. There's also a moment where Josh, desperate, acts impulsively and risks making the situation worse, another reminder that fear makes humans do foolish things. Those human choices keep the story grounded. This isn't only about demons, it's about parents making horrible decisions while they try to protect the ones they love. The climax is messy and urgent in a good way. Elise decides to go further than Specs and Tucker can, to take risks she hasn't taken in years. She enters into a trance, literally guiding the others and Josh through the otherworld's corridors. She speaks to Dalton in the voice of someone who remembers the loneliness of lost kids, and the movie finds small, human moments amid the chaos. A child clinging to a memory of a lullaby. A father recognizing the face of a little boy he loves. There's a wrenching sacrifice that I don't want to spoil too bluntly, but suffice it to say that Elise pays a heavy price to give Dalton a chance at coming home. That sacrifice underscores the movie's heartbeat. Horror here is tempered by sacrifice and the willingness to step into darkness for someone else. The final beats turn back to physical survival and a gut punch twist that leaves the family change. Some doors close, some don't. Dalton returns to his body, but the echo of what he saw and what touched him lingers like a smudge you can't wipe clean. Josh and Renee try to patch the pieces back together, but the film finishes by letting the fear sit with them. Not as a cheap jump scare, but as the idea that some doors once opened don't slam shut forever. There's a quiet final image that reminds you the world of the living and the world of the dead might be closer than we'd like, and some things that smile the friendliest can be the most dangerous to trust. Overall, Insidious is less about blood and more about dread. About the slow sinking feeling of a parent who can't reach a child, about how memory and evil mingle, and about how we cope with things we don't understand. The cast sells the human stuff. Patrick Wilson as Josh is painfully believable as a man carrying a history he only half remembers. Rose Byrne as Renee gives a raw, exhausted performance, and Lynn Shay as Elise anchors the whole film with warmth and gravitas. Specs and Tucker are the comic human heartbeats that keep the movie from being all dread. Director James Wan keeps the scares deliberate. He's more interested in the slow build and the wrongness of silence than in non-stop gore. If you've seen this kind of haunted family story before, Insidious still finds fresh territory by mixing old-school seance vibes with the modern paranoia of technology and monitors, and by grounding the terror in a family's very real grief. The Further is a neat invention, not as visually flashy as some other supernatural realms but more unsettling because it feels lonely and unfinished. And the movie leaves you with an aftertaste, part sadness, part adrenaline, the kind of lingering unease that makes you check the dark before you turn off the light. If you want a horror movie that leans on atmosphere, character, and a few well-placed shocks, Insidious pulls it off, even when it asks you to believe in things that, frankly, don't want to be believed. And that's the terrifying story of Insidious 2011. What began as a simple family tragedy quickly turned into a battle against forces lurking beyond our world. But the real horror wasn't the demons, the ghosts, or even the Further. It was realizing that sometimes evil doesn't need an invitation. It simply waits for an opportunity. If you enjoyed this recap, Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future movie recaps. And tell me in the comments, if someone you loved was trapped in the further, would you risk entering it to save them? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next movie recap.